The trial in Tshegofatso Pule's murder resumed at the Johannesburg High Court. Today the court heard testimony from the friends of Pule's convicted murderer, Muzikayise Malephane. To get more on the day's proceedings, we're joined by Linda Mnisi. So, Linda, there are two aspects to today's hearings. There's, of course, the evidence that has been given by Muzikayise Malephane's childhood friend, who's given a bit more insight into who he is and perhaps also just the days leading up to Tshegofatso's murder. And then we know about the video footage of Tshegofatso's complex that is also going to be important for this case. Talk us through those two elements.
Yeah, indeed, Kathy, you'll remember one of Muzi's friends, who also happens to be Muzi Kumalo, took the stand today, detailing the circumstances or some of the events that took place, when Tshegofatso arrived at Muzikayise's home during the day, on the day, in fact, that Tshegofatso Pule was killed. This was the 4th of June in 2020, where he says that, in fact, the only time that they saw a vehicle that is said to belong to Tshegofatso was when they drove out of Muzi's house to find him waiting outside or standing next to this particular vehicle. He goes on to describe what he saw about it and what drew him into noticing small details like the number plate. And he also says he really liked the car because he saw the rims and other elements of the car were quite stunning, he says, and that is why he noticed that particular vehicle. But you also speak about the issue around the CCTV footage, and it's quite interesting when you look at the evidence, Kathy, that was given right now before we adjourned for the day by an SAPS official, Andries Pantonder, who's a warrant officer, who was giving basically cell phone records around what could have happened, during the time later that evening when Tshegofatso was around or was at Tshegofatso's house. He says that at around 1842, Tshegofatso received an SMS, and the location therefore was in Florida. But 2 minutes later, there was no activity recorded from the data received in Tshegofatso's phone. This means that there was no app that she was busy with. There was nothing. There was no phone call. There was no SMS that came through right up until around 22:17. That's 17 minutes past 10. You'll remember, Kathy, it's quite important because Tshegofatso is said to have left Tshegofatso's home just after 10 o'clock, around 10:04. That's when she left her home. And it brings into perspective the issue around Tshegofatso having told the court that Tshegofatso left in a huff because his girlfriend, who's now known as the fiancé, had been calling, and that Tshegofatso called her own transport to take her home. Now, the cell phone records reveal that, in fact, there was no activity in Tshegofatso Pule's call. Now, the question now is, could she have called it before, or, when really did she call it? So the cell phone records then revealing that there was no particular activity around that time. The CCTV footage around 2:06 to 2:09 shows no record, and that's why one of the trustees from the complex, who actually lives in a unit opposite to Tshegofatso, explains that the cameras are set in such a way that they detect motion, and that's when they only record. He was trying to piece together information around why there was footage missing between the time when Tshegofatso was there and the said times. Kathy?
Linda, I want us to take a look a bit further at the evidence of Muzi Kumalo on Muzikayise Malephane, particularly his history and how he derived an income. What was the importance of that evidence before the court?
Yeah, you'll remember that there was an issue, Kathy, around Muzi having sold illicit alcohol or cigarettes during the period of lockdown. Tshegofatso had previously told the court that he was there on that particular day because he wanted to buy illicit cigarettes from Muzikayise Malephane. Now, the state putting to him and asking him, what exactly did Muzikayise Malephane do for a living? And he says, well, from what I know, from what we've all known, Muzikayise stole cars. And you'll remember, Kathy, that just last week he was asked, Muzikayise Malephane that is, was asked around what exactly he does for a living and why he did not follow up on the money that was promised to him. What was his lifestyle like? And he says, Ntuthuka Shoba did not give me my money because he knew the kind of lifestyle that I lived. So I knew that he would give me my money. And he was asked, what do you do for a living? He said, well, I basically lived a gangster life prior to my arrest. I used to steal cars and sell their parts. Now, it also gives us an indication of the kind of person that Muzikayise was prior to his arrest, but also puts to the test the issue around whether or not he sold cigarettes, illicit cigarettes, during that particular time. This friend, Kathy, says that, in fact, when Ntuthuka Shoba was there, we left looking for alcohol because we had run out of beverages. Now, it begs the question, is there any truth to the fact that Muzikayise, in fact, sold illicit cigarettes or alcohol during that time?
All right, Linda Mnisi, let's leave it there for tonight.